Well, is Putin set to attack NATO countries? Or a nuclear false flag about to be released on European soil, according to intel sources. Are they on the brink of a nuclear false flag attack? Journalist and founder of Freedom Train International, Jim Ferguson, posted this shocking report. Breaking exclusive, Europe on the brink. Covert source warns of staged nuclear event to trigger World War III. He says, not long after I landed in Paris, I was contacted by an operative from a covert intelligence agency. They insisted on total anonymity, face concealed, voice altered, but their message was explosive. That there was a number of false flags that Zelensky knew about and war crimes that Zelensky knew about, and most alarmingly, that another Black Swan event is imminent, one so devastating that could push Europe and the rest of the world into war. Of course, they desperately want these false flags. They desperately want war with Russia. All you have to do is listen to Ursula von der Leyen. Listen to these clowns at the NATO summit right now. They desperately want war. Here is Zelensky telling us that he thinks Putin is going to take over all of Europe. Listen.
Putin only thinks about war. That's a fact. Maybe he connects his own political survival with his ability to keep killing. So long as he kills, he lives. And our intelligence confirmed this. Russia is even planning new military operations on NATO territory, meaning your countries, and this war is now on in Ukraine.
So there we go. Yeah, we're going to see a war inside of Europe on European territory. Jim Ferguson joins us from the UK right now, former parliamentary candidate and journalist, again, founder of Freedom Train International. Jim, I mean, what did you think when you heard this from this intelligence asset, this intelligence source, that you're going to see a false flag inside of Europe? What did you make of that?
Well, there was a number of things that came out in that conversation that I was very interested in learning about. First of all, they knew how the intelligence networks worked. So they were, from my opinion, they were certainly knowledgeable about how it all fits together. But what's very alarming about this is that about 16 months ago maybe, there was a lot of chatter about the possibility of a dirty bomb being put off as, once again, another false flag. And a lot of us within social media were highlighting this, and thankfully that didn't happen. I don't know whether the activity that we did collectively around the world prevented it or called them out. They maybe got cold feet. But I think this intelligence operative is the real deal. They said they were part of an international covert intelligence agency. And the way they described it and the information that they gave would lead credence to that. And what they basically were saying is they referenced Bucha, which is an area just outside of Kiev, and they said that there was intelligence, there was video footage and camera footage and high-level testimonials that civilians were executed, hands tied behind their back, and their lives taken, along with bodies taken from a region known as Donbass in the east of Ukraine, and laid out to make it look like a Russian massacre. But this all happened 2 days after the Russians had withdrawn from that area, and there is satellite imagery that their analysts have gone through that seems to prove that. Now, I haven't seen this information, but they said that they definitely do have it, and that they've attempted to put this all through the Arrow meeting in New York just about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and that it was basically being rebutted. So the other alarming thing about all this, Clayton and Natali, is that they said that MI6 were involved. They said other NATO intelligence agencies were involved. They even said, because I asked them, I said, would the CIA be aware of this? And they indicated that they certainly would be aware of it. So there seems to be a pattern of behavior that would indicate the prelude to something happening. And I asked them further details about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zelensky is a CIA puppet, right? So Zelensky is, I wouldn't be surprised at all that the CIA is actively involved. The CIA feeding him this information at the NATO summit where he says Putin is going to attack. So he's sort of like laying the groundwork for this, Jim. At least that's the way I read it. He's laying the groundwork, telling us that Putin is going to attack Europe. We just had Colonel McGregor on who says there's zero evidence that Putin has any interest in Russia's big enough. Like, it's big enough to handle and hang, to deal with on your own. You want to add more territory it's insanity, but he's telling it, and he's a CIA puppet. So I feel like he's laying the groundwork for this, Jim.
Yeah, definitely. And not just him. I mean, other European leaders are ramping up the rhetoric. We've seen Keir Starmer now warning that the UK needs to be prepared in terms of a home defence because the Russians are about to invade. This is just utter craziness. And there is a push to war. I believe that there's going to be probably call-up papers, conscription issued for young British people to be drafted into the military. They're very serious about this. They are determined to pose Russia as a major threat. But if they do go down the route of provoking Russia to use tactical nuclear weapons, we are heading into World War III. I asked them the specifics, where's this likely to happen? And they said it could be a number of different scenarios or recipes, as they said. This was one of the other tells that they gave, that they did understand how the intelligence mechanisms work. They said there are a number of scenarios. It could be that an attack would be done on a Baltic fleet that might belong either to America or to a NATO ally, or even the assassination of a national leader from one of the NATO countries. So they seem to have very, very high-grade intelligence that this is what is being planned. And when you see Zelensky and Starmer and others like Ursula von der Leyen ramping up the rhetoric, it might suggest that such an event could be quite imminent.
So you've probably heard that RFK Jr., known for his sharp mind and relentless energy on the campaign trail, is taking methylene blue to stay focused, energized, mentally resilient. Well, now you can experience those same benefits with Recharge from the wellness company. This doctor-formulated neuroceutical is the first to combine methylene blue with urolithin A, creating a unique formula designed to optimize mitochondrial function, improve energy, and elevate cognitive performance. Methylene blue crosses the blood-brain barrier to enhance memory, focus, and executive function by increasing ATP production, the true fuel of our cells. It also works as a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, helping to protect against aging and cellular damage. If you're looking for a real mental and physical edge, Recharge delivers. Get 10% off plus free shipping. Head over to twc.health/redacted. Use the code redacted. So get 10% off plus free shipping. Head over to twc.health/redacted. Feel the difference. Think clear. Recharge.
I wonder if there are conflicting dark forces right now at work, because a false flag attack could be useful for a war with Russia, but now we've also got the possibility of a war with Iran. Do they care? And with, there are definitely people, in fact, we saw this online yesterday, hoping that Iran attacks the United States so that we are dragged into a full-scale war there. And so now I wonder if they're like, no, I wanted the war with Russia first. No, the war with Iran. And they don't care what civilians are killed as a result.
Well, that's exactly the case. And I asked the intelligence operative about why would somebody within MI6 do something that would be counterproductive to British national interests. It was very interesting that the answer they gave, because they said, look, there are two stratas. That was their words. There was two stratas of people on the planet right now. You've got ordinary people like us who just want to live our lives in peace. We don't want to see war, whether it's in the Middle East or anywhere else. And then there are those that consider themselves to be the elites. Those people who have got no conscience. They are quite capable of doing anything for the sake of power and war and profit. And unfortunately, what they described was that those in the intelligence services are really doing the bidding of these elites. They're no longer loyal to the people of our respective countries, whether it's in America, whether it's in the UK or Europe. But they seem to be pushing for this war. Why? Well, maybe they just want to get order out of chaos. They maybe want to cause massive destabilization to usher in new financial structures, new financial systems. We've seen the advent of CBDCs in October that Ursula von der Leyen has been talking about, Madame Lagarde of the IMF and others. So this could be their way, their mechanism to cause such instability and panic and fear. And we've seen what they did during the COVID pandemic. Fear was their go-to weapon to control the narrative. And unfortunately, the lying mainstream media are going right along with it. They're ramping up that rhetoric. I won't be surprised to see in the national newspapers in the UK tomorrow about all the threats of the Russians coming in and invading the UK. They're just lapping it all up. And unfortunately, I think that this is what's going to be going forward in terms of policy, in terms of what they're going to do next. But I think the people themselves don't want to see it. People in Europe don't want war. The ordinary people in Ukraine don't want war. And this operative seemed to be, because I always wonder about who, you know, what is their motivation? Are they actually a Russian asset? I didn't get that feeling that they were. I think they care deeply about the Ukrainian people. I don't think they want to see war happening. And the reason they came to me, they may have gone to others, I don't know. But they wanted that message put out. And thankfully, the post that I put out has got a lot of attention. So thanks to you guys, maybe it will get further attention and perhaps put their plans off, because nobody wants to see this happen.
That's my hope, is that we report on these false flag attempts, because false flags really, really work. They work deeply. Go back to Operation Ajax in Iran, planting false stories in the press, the overthrow, you know, fake staged protests. Like, false flags really, really work, and they work well. I mean, look at 9/11, for crying out loud. We gave up our freedoms. We went into $6 trillion in war, killing millions of people, thanks to what happened on 9/11. So these false flag attacks work. I mean, go back, for crying out loud, to Pearl Harbor. The list is pretty endless. Jim, we'll get you out of here on this. Do you feel like there's a sense in the UK that they are on a war footing, like they are preparing for some sort of a move towards Russia?
Well, I've been traveling extensively across Europe, from Romania to Budapest, Hungary. I've been in Ireland, I've been in the Netherlands, I've been in Paris, France, latterly. And there is a general feeling within the patriotic groups, those people who are like us, don't want to see war, that there is a ramping up of the rhetoric within those who are within the globalist order, shall we say. And there is definitely a push for war coming of that, I have no doubt. I think while we've been distracted in the Middle East, I think this has been building up quietly. And a lot of those national leaders haven't posted anything for the last 5 or 6 or 7 days, some of them, about Ukraine. Now they're talking about it and they're coming out, and the rhetoric is Russia's bad, we've got to prepare for war. I think there could be something in the pipeline for this, and I hope that they don't. But let's hope that we can get that information out and call them out in it, because I think the consequences of it would be World War III, no doubt about it.
Jim Ferguson, follow him on X. He does an incredible job tracking all of this garbage and making sure that we are informed. Jim Ferguson, UK, on X. Jim, great to see you as always. Thanks for staying up late for us there in the UK to be able to talk to us. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.